Ας περάσουμε τώρα στο επόμενο θέμα που παρουσιάζει την ομάδα Φίλοι της Κύπρου δίπλα στους εργατικούς. Μεγάλη εκδήλωση πραγματοποιήθηκε την περασμένη Τρίτη στο Κυπριακό Κοινοτικό Κέντρο στο Woodgreen από την ομάδα Φίλοι της Κύπρου του Εργατικού Κόμματος. Στη συγκέντρωση παρευρέθηκαν πολλοί υποψήφιοι βουλευτές του Εργατικού Κόμματος και παρουσίασαν τις θέσεις τους. Ο δόκτωρ Βασίλης Μαύρου, ο οποίος είναι επικεφαλής της ομάδος Φίλους της Κύπρου των Εργατικών, αλλά και πολλοί φιλο-εργατικοί ομογενείς, κατέκλυσαν τη μεγάλη αίθουσα του Κοινοτικού Κέντρου στο Woodgreen για να παρακολουθήσουν τις ομιλίες των υποψηφίων βουλευτών. Στο βίντεο που ακολουθεί θα παρακολουθήσετε αποσπάσματα από την έναρξη της εκδήλωσης και αποσπάσματα από τις ομιλίες των υποψήφιων βουλευτών.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the launch of the Labour Party Friends of Cyprus. My name is Marcus Papadopoulos, and I will be chairing the session tonight. Can I first of all say how delighted I am to see so many people here. Tonight is a momentous occasion for the Cypriots in the UK, for the Labour Party, and for Cyprus in general. We have a host of distinguished speakers tonight for you. I have to announce first of all, however, that unfortunately Jeremy Corbyn is unable to be here tonight. Naturally, he's fighting a very intensive and I'm sure we'll all agree excellent campaign against what is a dreadful, awful Conservative government. Before I hand over to the speakers, I'd like to introduce the Bishop of Tropiou to give a blessing.
Good evening, everyone. Kalispera, Christos Anesti. Christ is risen. I bring you greetings and blessings from His Eminence, and I add mine, and I will take this opportunity to thank very much the Friends of Cyprus for all they do for us. And I wish you every success. May God bless everyone. Thank you.
I should have said that even though Jeremy is unable to speak in person tonight, he's actually recorded an interview of himself on the Labour bus, and this will be played at some point during the evening. Can I call on the first speaker tonight, who is the founder and chair of the Labour Party Friends of Cyprus, Dr. Βασίλης Μαύρου.
On behalf of the Labour Party Friends of Cyprus group, I would like to welcome everybody to our event. A special welcome is addressed to His Grace the Bishop of Tropiou, Athanasios, to our distinguished MPs and the candidates for the coming elections, as well as leaders of the community groups and associations here in London, especially the Cypriot Federation, represented by its President Christos Karaolis. We would specifically like to thank the leader of Her Majesty's opposition and leader of the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn, who is and has always been a firm supporter of our cause, which is the reinstatement of Cyprus' human rights in the land illegally occupied by Turkish military. He supports the end of the occupation and the right of return of the legitimate inhabitants of this territory. We are delighted to acknowledge and support the strong commitment that the leader of the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn, has made that once he wins the elections as a Prime Minister, he would try and honor Britain's responsibility as a guarantor power for Cyprus' independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity. Our group, the Friends of Cyprus of the Labour Party, was formed in order to create closer bonds between Labour MPs and Cypriots living in the UK. Among other activities, we plan to officially launch the group with a reception in Parliament. Our plan in the near future is to create a network of Cypriot groups, including the youth and professionals, not only from London, but across the UK, to join the lobby and lobby their MPs regarding the wholly unacceptable situation currently in Cyprus. One of our forthcoming activities planned is to organize an educational fact-finding trip to Labour MPs, for Labour MPs to visit Cyprus, where, apart from being a state visit, they would be able to witness firsthand the Green Line area and the occupied part of Cyprus. We believe that this experience would be of tremendous benefit to visitors in helping them gain a deeper understanding of the illegal status quo that exists there, which was created through the illegal invasion and occupation of the northern part of Cyprus. All the Cypriots, irrespective of their ethnic origin, want to live in peace under the legitimate and internationally recognized government of the Republic of Cyprus, without the presence of the Turkish army of occupation and the existence of refugees. As the leader of the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn, has made it quite clear that Britain has a responsibility to fulfill in Cyprus. Its guarantor rights of Cyprus' independence, sovereignty and territorial integrity have to be fulfilled, and the 1960 agreements and British signatures have to be honoured. Our group, the Labour Party Friends of Cyprus, are ready to offer any possible assistance to Labour Party candidates on the coming general elections and campaign on their behalf. The Labour Party is a party of the poor fighting a battle with the establishment. The party of the wealthy and the big businessmen, not just of Britain, but also of world capitalism. The Labour Party is fighting an unequal battle in which it has to face the party of large multinational corporations representing huge vested interest and influencing government decision-making and policy on a daily basis. The Conservatives, representing the establishment, have on their side constant support from nearly all the national press, radio, and TV channels. There is no doubt that the mainstream media is bombarding the public on a daily basis with propaganda and so-called fake news in an effort to discredit the Labour Party at almost every opportunity given. The Labour Party is taking on the Conservatives, who are doing very little for the poor and unprivileged people of this country. Incredibly, it is also the party that, according to a campaign against the arms trade report published in 2016, that is last year, approved the export of billions of pounds worth of arms around the world every year, making the UK the second largest arms dealer in the world after the United States of America.
The first speaker, Alan Mill.
Thanks very much indeed, Chair. Can I first of all thank the Chair and the organisers for doing this, Mavros. It's most certainly just been mentioned. It's been very, very difficult over years past to get gatherings like this, I know, and the work he's put in is tremendous. First of all, let me just say that also I'd like to thank the Federation, the Brotherhood, and also the Cypriot youth who've also been engaged in that respect. Can I first of all deliver fraternal greetings from the Asteria in Birmingham, from the Leeds community, and of course my own in Mansfield. They're very, very active, and they're having meetings exactly as the one we're having tonight, but not yet, a bit nearer the election date. Can I also apologise for having to leave before the end of this tonight, because I've got to get a train back up to the East Midlands where people are actually baying for my blood or trying to get me out on the doorstep. Can I firstly say, really, what an honour and a privilege it is to come here tonight and speak to you, because for many, many years, sometimes politicians actually take it for granted that community should get them along. Actually, it's we who should be grateful to you for the work that you put in the community, the support that you give in the diaspora, and the activities you've become engaged in. I have some very elderly constituents who are refugees from Cyprus, and the help they get from both the Greek embassy, the Greek government, the Cypriot government, I'm very, very grateful for. They stretch from education for children right away through social services for the elderly, so I'm very grateful for that. Can I just say also tonight that whatever the outcome of this meeting tonight, the one message that we've got to take away from this is the importance of Cyprus, and that it's still got to be the centre, the very, very centre of foreign affairs attention that people pay. When I first went into Parliament some 30 years ago, Cyprus was unheard of or not taken any notice of. And I say there's one man in this room who probably deserves more applause than anybody else. Andreas Karoulis, I say that. And the effort he's put in has been unbelievable over the years, both in the community and actually politically. Can I just say also the centre of that attention which is paid to the Cypriot cause has to firstly and foremostly be sure that Cyprus isn't just used as a mechanism for either the British or any other government to use to bargain their own benefits in a situation. Cyprus has seen that too much in the past, whether it's been Britain or others. That Britain got it because he was bought from Turkey. Britain got it itself, he'd backed out of that, but then he'd insist on buying things or getting things on its exit. And ever since, various governments around the world have bargained foreign policy in determining of Cyprus to get some leeway in their own negotiation. I think that's got to stop. It's got to stop because Cyprus is an independent nation, free from the or should be free from the attention of people who use such methods. Can I say, the outcome at the end of it is we've simply got to get the scenario where Cyprus is free and united fairly and justly, and the demand for that is very, very clear way forward. You all know this. It's central demands: return of the refugees to their property, find out the whereabouts or the circumstance of the missing, and an end to any lack of freedom of movement on the island. You know, we've got to have that. And I have to say it, if it was in Britain, we'd be at civil war because we didn't have it. I mean, it's bad enough that we've got Scotland going the area and asking for independence. That causes a row, but we have no lack of freedom of movement in these great isles. But having said that, we may have soon, because with the introduction of Brexit, we have a part of the United Kingdom that very soon may be inhibited. Ireland and Northern Ireland may have closed borders if the deal that is being done isn't a correct one. And I say this, it's going to be similar to your own considerations, because also what happens with the diaspora here, what happens to your relatives in Cyprus, and all the restriction that may give. So whatever the outcome of the conversations in the future, we have got to ensure in that deal that such matters are clearly solved.
Reverend Bishop Athanasios, President of the Greek Cypriot Federation, Βασίλης Μαύρου, thank you for inviting me to this very, very impressive and well-attended event. I just want to say a couple of things about the importance of joining the Labour Party and becoming involved in your local community. For myself, I came over to England with my mum and dad and my 3 elder sisters, so I was very spoiled. And we came and lived in Fulham, which has the best team in England. Hopefully they'll win the playoffs tonight. We lived in Fulham. Mum worked in the rag trade at the Angel. She travelled from Fulham to the Angel. Dad worked nights in the kitchens at the Dorchester Hotel. So very, very difficult times for us. There was one weekend where Dad had just 2 and 6 in his pocket, and we spent the whole weekend in the local Bishop's Park, just by Craven Cottage. But we worked our way up, and Dad bought a house just by Craven Cottage, and we were educated. He always felt education was very important. In 1990, I joined the Labour Party. I was 33, and I became a school governor. I became a friend of a park. I visited a local hospital as a friend of the hospital. I even visited prisons to talk to prisoners who wanted rehabilitation and have a word with the outside world. And it's really important that we don't just join a party, but that we join within the community. And in doing that, please, I would urge you to consider becoming school governor. So if you have children, they've gone to a good school, you're grateful to that school, consider becoming a parent governor. As a result of that community involvement, I was able to get elected as a councillor in 2003. In 2004, I was on the cabinet at the London Borough of Merton. In 2006, I became leader of the opposition in the London Borough of Merton. And in 2010, and to this day, I'm the leader of the council in the London Borough of Merton. Now, it's in South London. There aren't many Greeks there. Actually, I get a lot of support. You would be surprised at this, by the Turkish community in the London Borough of Merton. And they come out with me, they leaflet for me, and they support me. And I think it is important that we engage with all communities. What I can say is that the members of Parliament, the Friends of Cyprus, the MPs here, now candidates, Joan, Catherine, Alan, Sir Alan Mill, I was with him on Sunday at Mansfield, where it was the festival of their local church, St. Methodios and Kyrillos. And the Labour Party is the natural party of Cyprus, and I think it will remain that, but we've got to work at it. Thank you very much for listening to me.
And the next speaker is Andreas, who's a councillor in the London Borough Parliament.
Hello, my name is Andreas Ioannidis and I'm a councillor in Barnet. Many of the speakers will speak as a politician. In my case, here in the room, I could easily be your brother, your son, and in some cases, maybe even your grandson. And I will speak based on this capacity. I came from Athens for 2 weeks holidays 15 years ago. 10 years ago, I met Andrew Dismore, where I got involved as a volunteer in his constituency. Through Andrew, I met a lot of Greek Cypriot. And in 2012, I stood in a by-election in an area that it seems to be a safe Tory area. Unfortunately, they lost the elections. And now, the Labour seem to be the majority in that ward. I wouldn't be able to achieve all this if I didn't have the support, first, from the government, because when I came as a baker. I came as a manual worker. I was working in a bakery. I didn't have any qualification apart from the Greek high school. I ended up within 7 years being able to finish a degree in politics and doing a master's from London School of Economics. I managed to do all this because I had the support of the Labour Party. I didn't have to pay the fees because I managed to get the fees from the state. I didn't have to pay for the college in order to learn how to read and write in English because at the time it was free. And I do feel that we all have to go out and campaign for the Labour Party because it's the party that personally has helped me. Thanks to the Labour Party, I'm able now not only to help people in Barnet and the Greek community in Barnet, Islington, and in other places where I volunteer, but also to be able to help refugees in Greece, where I've been going twice a year and I work in the refugee camps. There is a big distinction between the Tories and us. And I see it in Barnet, how they treat the libraries. The majority of libraries in Barnet at the moment is closed. They call it refurbishment. In reality, they cut it down the space. Children, if they are younger than 16, they are not able to go in if they are not with the parents, and that's totally unacceptable. The services of our NHS in Barnet, from Royal Free to Chase Farm Hospital, they have cut down all the services. And unfortunately, many people, they don't realize the harm that they do in themselves by voting for Tories. This is not about political between Labour and Tories. This is about our future and what type of society we would like to live. Me, as a young person and being involved with politics, I have seen the difference that it makes when we have a Labour group which is strong and fight for our right as a normal citizen, instead of a Conservative group who is fight only about making profit. It's up to us in the next election to choose whether we want to look to become more human in order to help those who are vulnerable, or we want to let people who they are just happen to be rich to make the rules for us. Thank you for listening.
Κυρίες και κύριοι, φίλοι, σας ευχαριστώ για την πρόσκλησή σας να σας μιλήσω. Προσπαθώ να μιλήσω στα ελληνικά και με συγχωρείτε για τα λάθη μου. Δυστυχώς φέτος δεν μπορώ να γίνω υποψήφιος για ατομικούς λόγους, αλλά είμαι εδώ να υποστηρίξω ολοψύχως το Εργατικό Κόμμα και για το φίλο μου ο Mike Katz στο Hendon. Συνδυόμαστε πριν τις εκλογές του άλλο μήνα την 8 Ιουνίου. Εκλογές που είναι πάρα πολύ σημαντικές. Σημαντικές για τα σχολεία μας, τους καθηγητές μας και τα παιδιά μας. Σημαντικές για τα νοσοκομεία μας, τους γιατρούς μας και την υγεία μας. Σημαντικές για την αστυνομία και την ασφαλεία μας. Και πάνω απ' όλα, οι εκλογές είναι σημαντικές για Brexit και την συνεργασία μας με την Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση. Πρέπει να αναγνωρίζουμε ότι αν φτιάξουμε αυτά τα μεγάλα προβλήματα, χρειαζόμαστε βουλευτές, χρειαζόμαστε πρωθυπουργό το Jeremy Corbyn, χρειαζόμαστε κυβέρνηση του Εργατικού Κόμματος, το κόμμα μας. Γνωρίζουμε καλά, πρέπει να ψηφίσουμε για και εκλέξουμε όλους τους βουλευτές και υποψηφίους που είναι εδώ το βράδυ. Ο Κάθριν, ο Μάικ, ο Μπάμπος, η Τζον και ο Άλεν. Εντάξει. Φίλοι μας, καταλαβαίνουν την ανάγκη να νικήσουμε σκληρό Brexit και να κερδίσουμε Brexit που είναι το πάρα πολύ καλύτερο για το λαό βρετανικό και δουλεύει εδώ στο Λονδίνο. Επίσης, χρειαζόμαστε βουλευτές που είναι καλοί φίλοι της Κύπρου. Γιατί μετά 43 χρόνια της πανομής κατοχής, με τα 43 χρόνια της αδικίας, με τα 43 χρόνια του αγώνα για δικαιοσύνη και του αγώνα για ανθρώπινα δικαιώματα, με τα 43 χρόνια χωρίς λύση, με τα τόσα χρόνια είναι καιρός πια για μια ελεύθερη και ενωμένη Κύπρο. Μια Κύπρος χωρίς τουρκικές δυναμίες που πρέπει όλες να φύγουν από την Κύπρο. Θέλουμε την Κύπρο που είναι το δικαίωμα όλων των Κυπριών και όπου μπορεί να ζήσει όλος ο Κυπριακός λαός χωρίς φόβο με ασφαλεία. Και για αυτά, για το μέλλον σας, για το μέλλον της οικογένειας σας και για το μέλλον της πατρίδας σας και της Κύπρου και της Αγγλίας. Δουλέψατε ακούραστα μαζί μας και εκλέξατε μαζί μας το Εργατικό Κόμμα μας. Ζήτω Εργατικό Κόμμα, σας ευχαριστώ.
Ευχαριστώ πολύ. Thank you very much. And I'm afraid I can't imitate Andrew because my Greek is not good enough. But just to say, kalisperasis, and how lovely it is to be here. Now, can everyone hear? Great. Good. Good. I wanted to say how proud I am to be the Member of Parliament for Woodgreen, for Hornsey and Woodgreen, but also that Woodgreen, as you all know, is the capital of the Greek Cypriot community, and indeed many Turkish Cypriots as well. And we are a wonderful community, very strong and very proud of our tradition and our background. And to say that the person that we haven't mentioned this evening yet is Andy Love. Does anyone remember Andy Love? Of course. And back in the day when Andy and others were on Haringey Council, and Jeremy included, they did do exceptional things. They built council homes. They found places like this for the community. And this really is at the heart of the manifesto for Labour. A manifesto which is at the heart of the community. A £10 minimum wage for working people. Just the other day in Primark in Woodgreen, I said to one of the sales assistants, "How is your job? Is it good to work here?" She said, "I love my colleagues, but I struggle because I only get £7 an hour." And up and down Woodgreen High Road, people living really on the £7 an hour, £10 to 2020 would really make a big difference. That's the kind of difference that we want to make as the Labour Party, a difference to the lives of working people. And we know how important it is for people who work in the rag trade, because who remembers the days of Fonthill Road? Who remembers all the hours there that people put in? Working, making clothes, selling clothes, all of those basic jobs, when we didn't have a minimum wage because it was Labour which introduced the minimum wage. And that's what we want to get back to, Labour introducing the £10 an hour. I also want to just remind friends here of the traditions that we have of the Arachne Women's Centre, where I first, when I was a Tollington Ward councillor, met so many women doing great things for their community, coming out of the pain and suffering of the days of the 1960s and 70s, and bringing together all the women to talk about how they could see a fairer future. And Susie here, who's been running the centre here with friends, Susie Konstantinidis and all the others, that's what it means to be at the heart of the community, to have an open door for anyone who wants to come, to have a meal, to talk about a problem, to have an afternoon's game of chess. That's what it means to be Labour in Haringey, and it's something which we have to hold on to, because when I go into the schools and I say, it's a bit like your mother or father saying to you, your pocket money is £1. What the government has said to Haringey Council and all the councils, Enfield and so on, your money is now 30 pence. They will have cut back by 2020 70% of all councils and Nottingham. How can a council live on 30p? How can a child live on that? But that is what the government's done for all the boroughs. Merton, where Stephen's in charge, they've cut back by 70% by 2020 all of the funding for social care. And that's why we see the leaky roofs again, back like when the Tories were in charge last time. The schools running out of money, the youngsters not being able to afford to go on school trips. We can't go back to those days. What we want is a fairer vision, and that's what we've got in our wonderful new manifesto. Because we know that the vision of St Barnabas, and it's wonderful to have the Bishop here with us this evening, but St Barnabas's vision was about feeding the poor, looking after the homeless. We've got a 40% increase in begging and people sleeping on the streets. When you come out of Woodgreen this evening, there's people lying there. That wasn't the case under a Labour government. If we choose Labour on the 8th of June, we can eradicate rough sleeping once more and create those homes for the future. And of course our NHS. We need to have our NHS. It's on its knees. The North Middlesex Hospital, which Joan and I visited at Christmas time to thank all the doctors and the nurses, we do not have enough nurses. Should our nurses be going to the food bank? That is a national disgrace. A Labour government would not allow nurses to visit food banks because their income is not high enough. We can raise that 1% pay freeze, which is like a 14% pay cut since 2010. And on Brexit, it's down to Labour to resist hard Brexit, because what is the Tories' vision of Brexit? It's a bargain basement, low tax haven, just like they've always been. Does a leopard change its spots? No. That's why on the 8th of June, we want you to get out, we want you to put up a poster here, a Vote Labour poster. We want you to go and help everybody in the really difficult seats like Bambos, Joan, Mike Katz here, who's standing for us. We want you to go into all the corners, tell your cousins, tell your aunts and uncles, your nephews and nieces. Make sure all the 18-year-olds are registered to vote, because we know that the government changed the way that we register to vote, and they changed it so that lots of young people, lots of people who move house, and lots of ethnic minority communities will miss out on the right to vote.
Kalispera, Philly. And my name is Mike Katz. I'm Labour's parliamentary candidate for Hendon in Barnet, and I bring greetings along for the other two Labour candidates who can't make it tonight, sadly, in Barnet. Jeremy Newmark, who's standing in Finchley and Golders Green, and Emma Weissel, who's standing in Chipping Barnet. And I just want to send first congratulations to the Reverend Bishop, to everybody here, but particularly to Vasilios for the fantastic contribution he's made and the amazing effort that we've seen in terms of creating this evening and the huge turnout we've had here. It shows the strength and the unity in the Cypriot community we have here, particularly, not just in the country, but particularly in London. It makes such an important part of North London life. So I pay tribute to that, and I'm honoured and humbled to be here and to talk to you tonight about the issues we face and the choice we face at this election. Because it's very clear to me that from nothing, the contribution of the Cypriot community to North London has been huge in terms of the networks that Catherine talked about, the facilities and the services that we've seen, and the strength and commitment you have to serving yourselves, but also the wider community, whether it's in Haringey, whether it's in Enfield, whether it's in Barnet, whether it's in Camden, across all of North London. And that's exactly what the very best of all our immigrants, all our ethnic minority communities across London have done. And I pay tribute to that. And it's, you know, as Sir Alan said, you've got some fantastic supporters and Labour Party members already, Labour MPs rather, already in Parliament. And I really would urge everybody as a first priority to make sure that those MPs, not just Sir Alan, who I think has less of a problem, but you know, Kate and Joan particularly, and Catherine, and all those Labour MPs that are standing up for you in Parliament at the moment, to make sure that they are returned to Parliament. And I would say as an added bonus, elect me and elect Jeremy and elect Emma, and you'll have even more Labour MPs standing up for what you feel is right. And we have all signed up, the three of us Barnet candidates have all signed up to the National Federation Pledge to actually make sure there's a lasting solution to the issues in Cyprus. Now, we might not get there, a lasting solution by the 8th of June, but we can take this country forward with the way we vote on the 8th of June. Because we've had 7 years of failure from the Conservatives. We've had 7 years where we now see a state where the average working family is set to be £1,400 worse off. Whereas Catherine said, people are regularly visiting food banks. And why? Because they are in work and they are still poor. They are in work and they're still having their benefits cut, so they cannot make ends meet. Indeed, the Tories do not end there. In Barnet, they are cutting and cutting and cutting. And we see the national government in Barnet cutting pupil funding so that each pupil will attract £500 less per pupil across the borough, which will mean 600 fewer teachers. That is the Tory vision for education in our country. That is the Tory vision for education in London, to see fewer teachers and bigger class sizes. Well, I tell you, that's simply not good enough for anybody's children, least of all your children and your grandchildren.
The next speaker is Bambos Karalambos, who is the BBC for Cyprus.
Kalispera σας. I want to say thank you to Vasily and the team for inviting me here tonight and for your strong support. I'm going to say a few words about how proud I am to be able to be part of the Cypriot community and about the challenges that face us over the years ahead and about why we desperately need a Labour victory to help us in the future. I grew up very near here and I went to Greek school here at Earlham Grove and to schools in Enfield. And I know that the need of the community, and I know that the Tories are failing local people. Under this government, we've seen longer waiting times to be seen by GPs. We've seen the NHS in crisis. We've seen serious cuts to the education funding. We've seen savage cuts to local government funding, which has a knock-on effect on community organisations. And we've seen fewer police, and of course we now have Brexit. We desperately need a Labour government to help bring about more investment in our health services, investment in schools, in our public services, decent pay, more help for all, for the many and not the few. I've heard people from the community say only to vote for Cypriot candidates. I reject this completely. Why? Because incredible as it may sound, at the last council elections in May 2014, in my ward of Palmer's Green, we had a Cypriot, get this, who was standing for the BNP, for the British National Party, on a platform of keeping immigrants out of Britain when he was the son of immigrants. So if you voted purely on ethnic grounds, you would have been voting for a fascist and a racist party. Ethnicity has never ever been a good guide of a person's decency or character. In that election, we elected my friend Amit Oikner, who's sat over there, and also Mary Maguire along with me. And together we've formed part of Enfield Council that's delivering valuable, excellent services for the community that we serve. I can see my colleague George Savai in the front row there, and Andreas, who was an excellent servant for the council as well. The community's interests are not best served by voting for anyone who's a Cypriot, but it is by voting for the best people to serve the community. And I know that my parliamentary candidates in Enfield, Joan Ryan and Kate Ossamore, in Enfield North and Edmonton, that our interests are best served with them and with our other excellent Labour candidates across London and the country. We've heard from Alan Meal and Catherine West and Mike Katz, but there's also Emily Ibrahim in Carshalton and Wallington. And there's many others as well. One of the issues of Cyprus that I know the Labour Party and the Labour movement are committed to finding a just solution for Cyprus. We need a Labour government to put pressure on Turkey to work harder to find a solution. We've been proudly served by the Labour Party in the past, and we should never ever forget the contributions that were made by the late Robin Cook and Pauline Green in getting Cyprus to become part of the European Union. It's a terrible tragedy that Britain has now decided to leave the EU, and the idea that Theresa May and Boris Johnson, Liam Fox and David Davis will be able to negotiate a good deal for Britain is laughable. That terrifies me. We need a Labour MPs to stand up to the Tories and ensure we get the best deal we can over this Brexit thing. When that happens, who knows? I'm proud to be a Cypriot, and I look forward to serving the community as a Labour Member of Parliament for Enfield Southgate. But we must be clear that my colleagues and I can only win with your support. So please help us by making sure that you vote Labour, you tell your friends and family to vote Labour, and with your help on June the 8th, we can win. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody, honoured guests, friends, comrades. It's my great pleasure to be here with you this evening. I'm sorry I was late. Like other candidates, I was out on the doorstep, winning the votes, hopefully. I mean, I have to be honest with you, it is tough. This is a very, very tough election. There is no question about it. And never have we needed the support of this community and every other community more than we do over the next 3 weeks, 3 and a bit weeks. The Tories, you know, they're spending a lot of money. They're getting a lot of media time. And they're trying to polarise the situation and personalise it. And the best way we can fight back, the one thing they can't match, is our presence on the doorstep. We have a membership, and we are mobilising that membership, and we are mobilising the communities that support us. And we've got to hold that Labour vote to us on the doorstep. And when they repeat those Tory mistruths, misrepresentations, those Tory lies, when they repeat those to us, we have to be there on their doorstep to talk them back to where their best interests lie. And their interests and our interests lie together. And I'll give you one example. In Enfield North, I've lived there for 20 years with my family. And just before the 2010 election, Nick Dubois and David Cameron stood outside our hospital, one that most of you will know, Chase Farm Hospital, a hospital that had an A&E, a maternity unit and 500 beds. And they promised, if elected, to keep it open. Well, you know the rest, because in 2013, without a by your leave, they closed it. We now have no A&E, no maternity, and 48 beds. That's not a fully functioning hospital. And what happened? It tipped Barnet and North Mid into crisis, as we said it would. This is Tory broken promises. They think nothing of saying one thing and doing another. They will say anything to take the vote. We have a duty, all of us together, whether we're in the Labour Party or not. Our duty is to protect our communities and to protect our democracy, because the one thing Theresa May and the Tories want is a huge, great majority, so that they've got a parliament where they don't have to take any notice of anybody else.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. Well, what can I say other than I'm very sorry that I was late, but I have just come from canvassing, and George was with me. We were out in Edmonton knocking on doors. Yes, Edmonton does have quite a healthy majority, but we're not taking this general election for granted. We're not taking the people of Edmonton for granted, and we're trying our best to convince people that this general election is a fight for their lives. We cannot be complacent because, as Joan has very clearly set out, Theresa May is trying to get a healthy, fat majority where she can do whatever she wants. And we cannot allow that to happen. So every seat is an important seat for Labour. Every seat we must fight for. And for anyone that is in Enfield North, for any of the other seats as well, please, please support. Do what you can, because it's about spreading the word. It's about speaking to our communities. It's about making politics belong to all of us. It doesn't just belong to politicians. It belongs to all of us. I'm a Haringey girl, so I'm very, very honoured to be standing here in front of you. I used to come to this place, actually, as a young girl, so I know how important this community centre is to you all. And I'm honoured that it is still thriving. It is a place that we all come to and we can feel comfortable. Because one thing I'm seeing more and more is old people feeling neglected in this country, feeling there's no place for them to go to. Before I got into politics, before I became a Member of Parliament, I was a practice manager. And I used to run a surgery not far away from here in Palmer's Green. It's your surgery. There's quite a few patients in here, actually. And I'm not going to say no more. But, no, of course, you know, I would never do that. But, you know, on a very serious note, I know firsthand how hard it was for many of you to get appointments. But my surgery, we offered appointments because we had a system in place. And the way we got that system in place was by listening to people, was by listening to our patients. And our patients needed to have access to a doctor on the day they felt unwell. Many surgeries do not run like that. So that means they end up at A&E. We've seen what's happening at North Middlesex Hospital. Many of you in this room have to go there. On any day, it could be up to 500 people that present at A&E. And a lot of those people cannot get a doctor's appointment. So we need a Labour government to invest in our NHS because it is integral to all of us to have access to the NHS. We have to organise, don't we? We do. And that is why we must make sure we get a Labour government. And that's why we all have a job in our hands. All of us have got something to do. It's not just down to us as parliamentarians or as candidates. It's for all of you, because you're the ones that deliver the vote for us. We have to stand together and support each other. There is so many things at stake. I talk about the NHS because it's dear to me. It's because I worked in the NHS and I don't want it to crumble. I don't want it to become something which nobody feels comfortable to use. We have qualified practitioners. We have people who have a skill that want to give back, want to support us, but they are working in conditions which are unbelievable. And we need to change that. We need to invest in them. We need to invest in our NHS. The Tories have shown us what they think of the NHS, and they have no respect for it. If they can slice it up, sell it off, that will suit them, because they have money. Many of us don't have any money. And even if we do, we need to give it to our children. Why do we have to give it to our children? Because they need to go to university. To go to university, how much does it cost? What debt are they coming out of university with? So we need to invest in all of us. And for that to happen, our manifesto, the Labour manifesto, which was launched today, and I was in Bradford this morning as well at the launch. I've had quite a busy day. But I've got to do that because it's important. I mustn't sit back and say it's got nothing to do with me. It's part of me. So I thank you all so much for inviting us here today, for listening to us in a very hot room. But I know how important it is for you all to make sure that we get a Labour government. And I know that you will do everything you can for that to happen. So thank you so much.
To welcome this initiative to start the Labour Friends of Cyprus, which aims to support the Labour Party in these elections. As AKEL, the largest party among the Cypriot community with a long-standing relationship with the Labour Party, our goal was to create a wide platform supporting the Labour Party. Because of the unexpected elections, we are short of time. In addition to the elections, based on our conference statements, we will work to complete the creation and establishment of this platform with as many organisations as possible in London and outside London. It is critical for the Cypriot community, which is overwhelmingly progressive, to make its voice heard in the oncoming election by supporting Labour, by electing Labour local MPs who will safeguard our public service, protect the National Health Service and education, and implement policies that protect wages against greedy capitalism, and lift the working people from poverty and benefits. David Cameron and now Theresa May and her party have presided over an era in which the living standards of the working and middle classes eroded significantly. The young are locked out of the housing market, especially in North London, and sky-high rents and bills are forcing many working families into food poverty. Through successive cuts to the NHS and social services, they have caused the biggest A&E crisis in the national health history. Through all the austerity and misery, they have found the time, energy, and most importantly, funds to give tax cuts to their wealthy friends and benefactors. The stakes in those elections are the highest in generation. 5 more years of conservative rules will not be a simple linear progression of austerity, but a wholesale change of Britain into free market, fully privatized state. With so many critical services, chiefly the NHS, brought to their knees over the past 7 years, they will not survive another 5 years of conservative government. They will not protect the NHS, They will not reform the housing market, nor will they address the high rail fares, because they believe in capital, not in people, where essential services are broken and there is money to be made at expense of the people. On June the 8th, we need to say enough is enough by making sure all our local Labour candidates are elected and by helping put Jeremy Corbyn into number 10. The left needs to pull together and move forward as a unified body. This is the way to ensure that we don't get another 5 years of conservative rules with all the consequences. This is why, as a girl in Britain, we have a long-standing policy of supporting Labour where there is no communist candidate standing, and this is why it is critical for Jeremy Corbyn and not Theresa May to be the next Prime Minister. Honestly, believe it or not, it is not comforting to see the relentless personal attacks of the media against Jeremy Corbyn and Labour on its whole. It shows that the right-wing establishment both hates and fear him, and this is an important evidence that he will bring about positive changes. Our local MPs represent our community, where the most important decisions are made. They need to be both able and willing to defend our community interests and the country interest. In closing, I would like to call on all of you not only to vote for our local Labour candidates on June the 8th, but also to participate in any way you can in getting the biggest Labour turnout possible around the country. Get involved and talk to those who are undecided and stress the importance of getting Labour back into government. Remind and pressurise those Labour voters who are neglectfully to go to the polls on June the 8th. If you are not sure how you can further help, please talk to our candidates here. I'm sure they will be happy to point out where and how help is needed. Finally, I would like to extend a special thanks to our local candidates who are here with us tonight, and of course, thank all of those for coming. Have a good evening. Thank you very much.
Ολόκληρη τη συγκέντρωση και τις ομιλίες θα τις παρακολουθήσετε προσεχώς στην εκπομπή με το φακό του Hellenic TV.